Hey, what's up, everyone? It's that time of the week again. Welcome to Free Advice Friday. Looking forward to spending some time with you as always and answering some of your voiceover business and marketing questions, hanging out for a little while on a Friday afternoon. This is for those of you who are like me, who are very bummed about the fact that they are not at One Voice in Dallas right now. I'm having some serious FOMO. I'm watching all of the pictures and stuff that's getting posted all over social media and just wishing that I could have been there this time around, but it didn't work out. So hopefully next year. Anyway, I see them posting the barbecue pictures. It looked like Jay Michael posted a bunch of pictures yesterday going out for barbecue. And I'm like, come on, why you got to do that to me? Why you got to be like that? So that was tough. But for those of us that are not at One Voice and we still want to have an opportunity to, get together socially and discuss some voiceover stuff and get some questions answered and get a little bit of coaching, get a little bit of help, a little bit of education. It's like our own little mini conference. We're just doing it over the internet instead of doing it in Dallas. And I guess the other upside to it is, of course, that it is free. So looking forward to hanging out, looking forward to spending some time, looking forward to answering your questions, whatever it is that you want to talk about on the business and marketing side of voiceover. That is what I am here for. So don't be shy. Would love to hear what you've got. Type it in the comments. If you've got questions that you want to get answered, that's the way that Free Advice Friday works. Type your voiceover business and marketing related questions into the comments. I'll watch for them to pop up on my screen. And I am here to answer them. And we'll hang out here for a little while and, dispense some advice for free on a Friday. In the meantime, while we're waiting for a few people to jump into the broadcast and join, let me remind you about the latest episode of the podcast. For those of you that have ever considered outsourcing, this is going to be a really good episode because I give you some things to think about as far as what to outsource. And I think I'm offering some perspectives in this particular episode of the podcast that maybe you haven't thought about before when it comes to outsourcing. So make sure you check out that episode of the Everyday VOpreneur podcast. It's called "What Do I Outsource?" It's part of the Summer Series 2022. Of course, that episode available at VOpreneur.com. I just put the link in the chat. And that is also available wherever fine podcasts are given away for free. So wherever you enjoy listening, whether that is Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, Podbean, you name it, it's all over everywhere. So you can find the podcast, listen to the podcast, enjoy the podcast, and learn from the podcast. Also, speaking of the podcast, I'm working on some new stuff for the fall. And one of the things that I know that I'm going to be doing for sure is I'm going to be having a online casting series. So I can tell you so far, Armin from Bodalgo has agreed to an interview, and we have that one scheduled. Liz Atherton from Cast Voices has agreed to an interview, and so that one is also scheduled and on the calendar. Rolf from Voice123 has agreed to do an interview for the podcast. We haven't got that one scheduled yet, but he's agreed, so I know that it is coming. And I've also been having a conversation with Kevin West from VO Planet. And so looking forward to having him on as well. So that'll be 4 of the big casting sites. I think those are probably the 4 main legitimate ones, at least the main legitimate ones that I am willing to shine some light on through my podcast. So watch for that starting in September. Again, that's going to be interviews with Bodalgo, Cast Voices, Voice123, and VO Planet coming as part of an online casting series. So that's just a little bit of a sneak preview as to what's going to go on with the podcast starting in September. Going back to the interviews and always looking to provide you with helpful advice to grow your voiceover business. Canadian Voiceover says, what is one of the better pay sites to find VOs? Well, there you go. What a timely question as we just finished talking about online casting. So I'll tell you what. I think there's a couple of ways that you can approach this. I think if you are looking for where you are going to find the greatest quantity of voiceover auditions, you are probably going to be looking at a Voice123. They definitely have more jobs posted on a daily basis than most of the other casting sites. Now, there is one other large casting site that is not getting mentioned, and that is just quite frankly because I don't think that they're worthy of mention. because I don't agree with some of their business practices, and I don't agree with some of the ways that they treat voice actors, and so I'm just not going to give them any attention or free advertising. So I would say if you are looking for quantity, I need to see the most auditions possible on a given day. I think you are looking at Voice 123. Now, the trick with that, if you're going to do Voice 123, you have to understand how the Voice 123 algorithm works. It is an algorithm driven site. If you just sign up for your membership and just start auditioning for everything, it is going to hurt you. And it is going to ultimately limit the number of opportunities that you are going to see. And so I want to make sure if you're going to use the site, make sure that you are understanding how that algorithm works, because that is absolutely so important. So that's where I think you need to go if you are looking for how do I get the most opportunities possible on any given day. You're going to be looking at Voice 123. If you want to go somewhere where you are going to find better quality jobs, so and that's not to say that there's not quality jobs on Voice 123. Of course there is. There's just a big mix of jobs on Voice 123. You're going to find some stuff that's really great. You're going to find some stuff that is well within GVAA rate guide guidelines or close to it. You probably might even find some that exceed GVAA rate guide guidelines. And so that's kind of nice too. But you're also going to find some stuff that's just not as good. It's just bottom of the barrel. It's low budget. It's student projects and things of that nature. So you're going to find a little bit of everything on Voice 123. And part of what you're going to spend your time doing is weeding through all of those opportunities and trying to decide, which one is the best opportunity for me. So that being said, if you are just looking for quality jobs, I just want to have really great opportunities to audition for, and it doesn't matter if there's as many of them. If that is what you are looking for, then I think that's where you're going to be looking at something like a Bodalgo or a VOplanet. I think either one of those two are going to provide you with always high quality voiceover auditions, but again, there's not going to be quite as many of them. So that's one of the things that you have to take into consideration. Um, Cast voices, I just don't know enough about it yet. It's still very new. Uh, it's There's not a lot of opportunities there, which has been a big frustration for a lot of voice actors. So at this point, I don't know that I could recommend signing up for that. Um, but it's one to keep an eye out for. So I would say hopefully that spells it out for you. I think quantity, Voice 123, quality, Bidalgo, and or VOplanet. Um, Hang on a second. I'm just writing a quick email to let people know that we are live on YouTube right now. Hopefully that answers your question. I do want to mention too, by the way, if you are thinking that you are going to do Voice 123, the V123 Pros, if you've never heard of them, look them up. V123 Pros offer a fantastic course that really clearly outlines how to get the most out of the Voice 123 platform and how to work that Voice 123 algorithm. I think if you're going to spend the money to sign up for Voice 123, it is absolutely in your best interest to invest in that course as well. And just to be clear, I am not an affiliate with Voice 123 Pros. I don't get any kind of kickbacks from Voice 123 Pros. I just give you that information because I know that what they have to offer is fantastic. I know that their course has helped a lot of voice actors do better on Voice 123. There, I'll just throw that link right there in the chat. That is a link to the V123 Pros and to their course that they offer. So if you are going to use Voice 123, definitely that is one that you should check out. I'm going to throw one more quick link in the chat here as well. I had the opportunity to do an interview with Catherine and Natasha last year. So on the podcast, but all the information, even though that interview is a year old now, that information is still absolutely relevant. So you can check out that episode of the podcast. It's called How to Level Up on Voice 123 with the V123 Pros. So I just threw that link in the chat as well. So make sure that you check that out, because that will certainly help you to do better if you are going to make the investment in Voice 123. And I know one of the other questions when it comes to Voice 123, there's so many different tiers of membership. And that's something that Catherine and Natasha dive into a little bit in that interview that I did with them. If you're trying to figure out, what's the right membership tier for me to join in at, I think that's going to be really, really helpful. So check that one out. Randy says, don't feel bad, Mark. I'm only 5 minutes away and couldn't get away. So Randy, you and I were missing one voice together. It's nice to know that there's a few of us out there that are missing it. And so, like I said, we can all just hang out with each other and still feel like we're getting some of the camaraderie that they are getting at One Voice in Dallas right now. We're just getting it live over YouTube instead of live and in person. Let's see, where are we going? Kurt says, happy Friday. Thanks for doing these. Of course, I always love doing V123, or I always love doing Free Advice Friday. Kurt says, can bodalgo clients hire you even if you don't pay the monthly fee? I have an account, but I don't pay the monthly fee. I believe that they can reach out to you directly. So similar to like Voice 123, for example, anybody can have a profile on Voice 123, a free profile. If you have a free profile, you will not get access to the daily castings, but you could be found in search and you can get access to direct invites. I haven't had a paid membership on Voice 123 in a very, very long time, probably 5 years, maybe even longer. But I still periodically get direct invites for projects. And I believe that it works the same way on bodalgo as well. Although, Kurt, I'm going to make a note of that right now. I was working yesterday on putting together my interview with Armin. So let me copy that question, because I will make that, I will see if I can fit that into the interview that I'm doing with Armin, and I will ask him that just to confirm. But I do believe you will not be able to submit for the castings that get posted, but you can, I believe, receive direct invites if somebody found you through doing a search or something like that. All right. So again, welcome to Free Advice Friday. For those of you that are jumping in and not sure what's going on, maybe you've never attended a Free Advice Friday before. This is the part of the week where I just hang out live on YouTube for a little while, and I'm just here to answer your voiceover questions. If you've got questions that you would like answered, business and marketing related questions in particular, that's what I'm here for. So don't be shy. Feel free to type those questions into the comments. Free Advice Friday is something that I have done for a number of years now. It always used to happen on Facebook. But several months ago, I started having some issues with Facebook. I kept getting kicked off the platform for no reason. And so in order to be able to continue to do Free Advice Friday, I made the decision to move it over to YouTube, because I think I'm relatively safe here. Although, as it turns out, I've had issues with YouTube as well. But for now, we're here. We're live. We're good to go. Everything is working. And so if you do have questions that you would like to ask and get answered, this is your opportunity. Don't be shy. So again, type it into the comments. I'm watching the comments in real time on my screen here, and I am happy to answer any business and marketing related questions that you may have and that you would like to ask for Free Advice Friday. I want to mention that I am teaching a masterclass on August the 16th. If you haven't checked that one out yet, it is called Booking in Your Backyard. This is a class that I have taught before, although the last time I taught it, I believe, was 2018. So I've been working at going through, updating a few things here and there, adding a couple little new pieces of information to it, and really excited to teach this class again. It is all about local marketing. So for so many voice actors, there are opportunities that exist right within your own community that you probably aren't even thinking about, opportunities that you probably are not even looking for. And I want to show you how to find those opportunities. I want to show you how to get plugged into your own community so that you can create voiceover opportunities in a lot of fun and unique ways. And one of the reasons why I think local marketing can be really great, you go to an online casting site, and how many times have you gone to submit an audition on an online casting site and there were already 100 auditions submitted by the time you got there, or already 200 auditions submitted by the time you got there? I mean, Voice 123, they boast of, tens of thousands of members on the site. That's a pretty stiff pool of competition. But when it comes to marketing locally, marketing within your own community or within your own region, what if you're the only voice actor around? Or what if you're only one of a handful of voice actors around? All of a sudden, the odds swing greatly in your favor. And so that's why I think that there is something to be said for spending some time and some effort looking to market locally. Plus, look, local businesses like to work with local businesses. So, if you would like to learn how to do local marketing, if you would like to learn about all the different places that you could be keeping an eye out for voiceover opportunities right within your own community, let me encourage you to check out the course. It is called Booking in Your Backyard. So again, I'm going to be doing that live on August the 16th. I'll be live on Zoom at 7 p.m. Eastern. It'll probably be about a 2-hour masterclass, but if you can't attend live for any reason, maybe you're going on summer vacation or whatever it is, then by all means, sign up for the class anyway, because everybody who does sign up is going to receive access to a complete video recording. So you will not miss anything if you are not able to join that masterclass live. So that's Booking in Your Backyard, and that is coming up again on August 16th. I just threw the link into the chat there. It's available at markscottcoaching.com. Kurt says, LinkedIn marketing or direct marketing, which is more successful for you? And do you know if you can organize your connections on LinkedIn by business or job title? I have had great success in both. I have a number of fantastic clients that have come to me as a result of my direct email marketing. And I think we should clarify that, because look, anytime you as a voice actor are reaching out to a voice buyer, that is a form of direct marketing. So direct marketing could be email, it could be LinkedIn, it could be Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok. It could be in-person networking. It could be through auditioning and online casting sites even. I consider that to be a form of direct marketing. So anytime you are actively going out and putting yourself in front of a potential voice buyer, I consider that to be a form of direct marketing. But Kurt, for the purposes of this, we'll assume you're talking about like contacting clients directly via email. So I have had incredible success, obviously, doing email marketing, and that is where a lot of my work and some of my great clients come from. But I also have a lot of luck on LinkedIn, and I think that there are some amazing opportunities on LinkedIn. A couple of my most lucrative clients that I work with in the e-learning space have come directly as a result of LinkedIn. Last week, just as an example, I probably sent about 40 LinkedIn connections last week. And I probably sent about 20 or 25 direct marketing emails last week. And I've already got one client or one company that has reached out to me directly, responded to me directly from my email marketing, and they're going to onboard me for their e-learning. And so I know that there's going to be opportunities that are coming from that. And I have also had another company through LinkedIn who talked about doing the same thing. And so, I mean, in that case, I've got one coming from each of them. And so I think that I think you go where your buyers are. I really think that's a big part of it, going where your buyers are. I like to do email marketing because for me, it is easier to have everything organized in my email inbox. And as soon as I start connecting and having conversations with people in multiple platforms, it becomes a little bit trickier to keep track of, although that's where a CRM can certainly come into play. But just to give you a little bit of insight into my strategy, when I'm looking on LinkedIn, if I can see that somebody is very obviously active on LinkedIn, then I am probably going to attempt to reach out to them directly through LinkedIn, because I can see that they're on the platform, daily or at least weekly. And so there's a pretty good chance, there's a pretty good possibility that they are going to respond to my LinkedIn connection request or respond to a LinkedIn private message. If I see somebody on LinkedIn and they don't appear to be active on the platform, then those are people in particular that I'm going to try to reach out to via email first. And then maybe LinkedIn becomes part of my follow-up strategy. So, can I say that one is more successful than the other? For me personally, no, I can't. I've had great success with LinkedIn. I've had great success doing direct email marketing. So I think any of the platforms, any of these options can work for you as long as you are willing to work them, right? I am on LinkedIn every day. I am sending emails every day. And so consistency becomes a big part of that. And I think that stands truth, though, no matter what platform you're using, that consistency becomes a big part of it. If you decide that Instagram is going to be one of your primary sources for marketing, then you just need to make sure that you're on Instagram every day, that you're posting great content every day, that you're adding value to your network every single day, that you're engaging with your network every single day. And as you do that over time, it's going to open up the door to opportunities. There's going to be jobs and clients and prospects that are coming as a result of that. And that's the same for LinkedIn. That's the same for email marketing. Kurt, I hope that answers your question. Gives you a little bit of an insight into my into what my process is. But great question. Thanks for asking. So again, if you guys have questions, business and marketing related, this is your opportunity to ask them. That's what Free Advice Friday is all about. I am here to answer those questions for you. And I'm happy to do it. And no, I'm not going to send you a bill later or anything like that. This is just one of the things that I really love doing is hanging out with voice actors and giving back to the community in this way. I remember what it was like when I was starting out and I was trying to get my business going and I didn't have a clue about anything. And I know that there were people there that helped me, and there were people that provided great content that I found incredibly helpful, people that provided content that gave me insights and tips. And so this is just my way of, completing that circle, I guess, and being able to come back and give back as well. Canadian voiceovers in my area, I'm the only one along with my wife and stepdaughter. There you go, which means that you are, in that case, you become the big fish in the small sea, right? And so that makes a really good argument for learning how to market locally and paying attention to the opportunities that exist right within your own community. April says this is good stuff. Well, I'm glad you think that, April. Thank you very much. Kurt says, great points. If LinkedIn could create a CRM for the business accounts, that would be so helpful and worth paying for. Hint, hint, LinkedIn. I actually think that when you sign up for one of the premium, I think if you sign up for Sales Navigator, I think there is some CRM functionality built into Sales Navigator. Now, I can't confirm that 100%, but I've talked to some people that have talked about things like that use the premium LinkedIn Sales Navigator. So it might be something worth looking into. I mean, I don't know about you guys. I get an offer from LinkedIn every single month, I think, to try Sales Navigator free for a month. So maybe it's worth trying it free for a month and looking into it. But I will also say I use Nimble as my CRM, and Nimble does a really nice job of integrating with LinkedIn through the Nimble Prospector widget. Now, it doesn't keep track of all of your conversations and all of that sort of stuff, but there are ways to do that within Nimble, so that you can remember who you're talking to and what you're talking about and all that sort of stuff. And that's just a matter of learning how to work with your CRM a little bit better. And I don't know if all CRMs integrate in the same way or not, but I have definitely had some great luck with the way that Nimble Prospector works with LinkedIn. Let's see, where are we going? Russ says, what microphone is that? I don't recognize it. This is the HyperX Quadcast S. HyperX Quadcast S. This is a microphone that I only use for my Zoom calls. This is not a microphone that is in my studio. I'm just sitting in my office right now. In my studio for recording voiceovers, I use the Neumann 103 the Neumann U87 and the Sennheiser 416. But this is just a fun microphone that, it lights up. Like, I can't resist a microphone that lights up. And so I saw this on the internet one day, read an article about it, went on Amazon, found it on Amazon. It ended up being on sale on Amazon. And then I was like, oh, crap, I got to buy that because I can make it orange. And so that was really the main selling feature for me. If you want me to buy something, make it orange. That's pretty much how it works. I just threw a link to the microphone in the chat. Interestingly enough, and Graham, are you with me? I saw that you were with me, Graham, earlier. For what it's worth, on Amazon Canada, Graham, if you're still here watching, the Quadcast is on sale today for 19% off. It's at $142.46. So click that link there, Graham. This is your chance to buy the microphone that you can sync with your bow ties and make it match. But yeah, I literally just punched it up to grab the link, and I see that it is on sale today. Regular price $175, on sale for $142. So there you go, Graham. Go get your Quadcast. You've earned it. All right, let's see where are we going. April says, "Do you do Boolean searches on LinkedIn?" Yes, I absolutely do Boolean searches on LinkedIn. It's one of the beautiful things about LinkedIn. Here's the one thing you've got to know if you're going to do Boolean searches on LinkedIn. When you are using a free profile, you are limited to the number of searches that you can do. But here's the tricky part. LinkedIn does not tell you what the limit is. So 1 month, you might do 100 different searches and be perfectly fine. But then the next month, you might do 5 searches and then they cut you off for the rest of the month. I call it a form of psychological warfare. I think by not knowing how many searches you can do, it's one of the ways that they try to encourage people to sign up for a premium account like a sales navigator. So the trick, if you are going to do advanced Boolean searches on LinkedIn, is first and foremost, making sure that if you're going to do one, you're doing it at a time when you can really spend some time on the platform. So prime example of this, I did a multi-string Boolean search on LinkedIn on Wednesday, and I spent an hour after doing that search sending out connection requests because what I didn't want to do was do that search, send a couple connection requests, come back a day later, do that search again, send a couple connection requests, come back a day later, do another search, right? And then get cut off. And so when I am doing some of those advanced Boolean searches, I really do want to make sure that I can spend some time making as many connection requests as possible so that I only have to, or so that I limit the number of times that I am going to do one of those Boolean searches. For those of you that are not familiar with the term Boolean searches or are not exactly sure what that means, LinkedIn is a very advanced search engine similar to a Google, for example, and it allows you to do searches with various and assorted modifiers. And so, just as an example, let's say that you wanted to do a search for e-learning, and you wanted to make it specific to New York State because you live in New York State. So you would type in the word e-learning, and then you could type in capital letters, you could type in the word and you could type New York. And so now LinkedIn is going to search for profiles that mention both e-learning and New York. And you can add multiple modifiers to these searches to make them more, to make them even more advanced and more drilled down. There's a whole range of filters that LinkedIn gives you the ability to use. Now, if this is something that you want to dive deeper into, I do teach a masterclass. It's called Making Money with LinkedIn. And in that masterclass, I do spend some time diving into the Boolean search engine, all the different modifiers that you can use, the different search filters that you can use, and all the tips that I give in that particular masterclass, they can be done with a free profile. I have a free profile. So everything that I teach on LinkedIn, I teach how to do it with a free profile. So hopefully that answers your question a little bit better, April. But yes, absolutely, you can do Boolean searches. You can get some really great results from doing Boolean searches. They can really help you to narrow down looking for very specific targeted leads. You just need to be strategic in how you're using them if you're working from a free profile. So hopefully that answers your question, which, by the way, was a good one because learning how to use some of that advanced functionality of LinkedIn is one of the things that is going to help you to get more out of that platform. April says, when searching on LinkedIn, do you do themes, meaning this week e-learning, next week explainer? Yeah, definitely. I focus on themes. Right now, the bulk of my efforts on LinkedIn have been targeted towards 2 different genres of voiceover. Primarily, that's e-learning and documentary. And so I have some more advanced searches that I do for e-learning, and then I have some advanced searches that I do for documentary, looking for opportunities to get into those genres. And so I definitely do a little bit more strategic on that. Good question. And again, part of that too is just trying to limit the number of searches that I do so that I'm not ultimately getting cut off. I have had months where I have done searches every single day and made it all the way through the month. And then I recently had a month where I got cut off on like the 3rd. So when you get cut off, you can still use LinkedIn. You still have access to the platform. You still get to check your news feed every day. you can still post, you can still engage, you can do comments and reactions and all of that sort of stuff. You just can't do any kind of advanced searching. LinkedIn just cuts you off from doing advanced searching. And then at the end of the month, your profile resets and you can start doing searches again. And so that's the only thing you got to watch out for on LinkedIn if you're using a free profile. So again, welcome to Free Advice Friday. For those of you that are jumping in on the broadcast, a good number of people watching today, which is fantastic. If you're not sure what is happening right now, I'm just here to answer your questions. If you've got a voiceover business and marketing question that you would like to ask, this is your opportunity to ask that question. So anything that's related to voiceover, I'm happy to do my best to help you. So feel free to type that question into the comments. I'm watching the chat on my screen right now, and doing my best to keep an eye out for any questions. So if there are questions that you want to ask, please type it in the comments. Let me do my best to answer it for you. Just going to quickly scroll through here, make sure that I haven't missed anything. Graham, did you buy the microphone yet? Come on, Graham, you know you want it. Randy says, can you not capture and save the search results? I mean, I suppose I don't know that there's a specific way that you could save or download, although that's an interesting question. It's not something that I've tried before. But you could definitely do screenshots and things of that nature. Here's another pro tip for you, by the way. Let's just say, for the fun of it, that you did one of these advanced searches and you took a couple of screenshots. Now you have the names of the people that you want to look up. Now, if you go into LinkedIn the next day and do searches for those people, it's going to count against your searches. So what are you going to do instead? You're going to go into Google and you're going to type that person's name. So I'm going to go into Google and I'm going to type Randy Mahoney, LinkedIn. And 99% of the time, the number one result that is going to come up in LinkedIn is the number one result that is going to come up in Google is Randy Mahoney's LinkedIn profile. I can click onto Randy Mahoney's LinkedIn profile from Google, and then it does not count against my search. So that's another pro tip for you. Look at all the free advice we're giving out on Free Advice Friday. If you're looking for a specific individual, do the search in Google. Don't do the search on LinkedIn, and that is going to save you one of your searches. And again, all these kinds of tips and so much more I give in my Making Money with LinkedIn Masterclass. That's about a 2-hour long deep dive into how to use LinkedIn for your voiceover business. And so, feel free to check that course out. Again, all my course offerings are available at markscottcoaching.com. The link to that Making Money with Your LinkedIn Masterclass is in the chat as well. All right, let's see. Mike says, looking ahead to VO North, what can we expect from you this time around? I was just asked last week if I would like to come and join again, which I'm very excited about. This is going to be the first live conference that I've had the opportunity to do since WovoCon in Vegas in 2019. So very much looking forward to being in a live conference environment again and getting the opportunity to see some people and people that I haven't seen in a few years. I confirmed with Tanya and Derv on Tuesday morning, which was the morning that they actually made the announcement. So I was like a last minute, sneak him in there, get him on the email, let people know he's going to be there. All I can tell you at this point is that I have been asked to participate in the marketing panel. That's all I know. So my guess is there's going to be a moderated marketing panel. I'm sure we're probably going to do some audience Q&A as well. And so that is what I will be doing at VO North. I believe I'm going to be speaking on Saturday afternoon, I think is what I was told. So pretty excited about that. VO North, by the way, for any Canadians that are watching, I mean, Americans, you're obviously welcome to come as well. It's a long way, but anybody's welcome. But particularly for the Canadians, it's nice to have a Canadian conference. And Derv and Tanya do a fantastic job with VO North. They've got an incredible lineup of speakers. If you look at go to the website and look at the lineup of speakers. I mean, you name it, they're there. And so a really great weekend, an opportunity to come to Toronto. Lots of fun things to see and do in Toronto. Take a couple extra days, turn it into a little mini vacation. You're not too far of a drive from Niagara Falls. There's obviously plenty of things to see and do in Niagara Falls as well. And the beautiful thing is, if you attend the conference, you probably get to write the whole thing off as a business expense, which is, a beautiful thing in and of itself. So check out VO North and the incredible speaker lineup. I just threw the link into the chat there. It's vonorth.com, but really, really, really great conference. Very well organized. Very much looking forward to getting back in person. That's the thing that I've missed. I'm very much looking forward to getting back and getting in person. All right, let's see. Don't mind me, guys. I write down time codes so that later on I can go back and add chapters into the video for all the different questions that get asked. Makes it easier for people to search who want to watch the replay. Laura says, how strong is the correlation of fewer VO opportunities with fears of a worsening recession? Or is there a lag time due to projects already in the works? You know what, Laura, this is a fantastic question. And it's actually something that I've been talking a lot about with my mastermind group. And I've been debating doing a podcast episode or possibly a YouTube video or something on the subject of this. It seems very likely at this point that we are going to go into it, at the very least, a mild recession. And depending on who you talk to, the United States is technically already in a recession. Up until recently, the definition of recession, I believe, was two consecutive quarters of negative GDP growth, and we've now experienced that. And so, I think that the economy, you don't have to think too hard to figure out that there's issues going on in the economy right now. All you got to do is go and fill up your car or try and buy something at the grocery store. And you can figure out pretty quickly that we've got some issues going on in the economy right now. I think you can also take a look at the stock market, and you can see all these companies that are consistently falling short of earnings expectations. So here's what I can tell you from some of the things that I do know, some of the things that I've been paying attention to. A lot of large companies have recently announced their most recent quarter. So that's been going on for the last couple of weeks. Companies have been announcing their quarterly reports. For those of you that don't follow along with the stock market, I won't make this too confusing. But the bottom line is Meta, which is the parent company of Facebook, Amazon, and Google. All three of them have missed their quarterly expectations, and all three of them have cited a decline in advertising as being a part of this. And so one thing that we do know about recession is that for large companies in particular, one of the very first budgets that gets cut is the advertising budget. And so for sites like Facebook, for Google, and Amazon, who are all very heavily involved in the advertising space, to already notice a decline in advertising spend, I think that is absolutely an indicator. Here's where it gets a little bit more complicated, though. I've been doing voiceover for quite a while now. I went full-time in 2012, so I've been full-time for a decade, but I was doing voiceover on the side for a number of years before that. So most of us have never really gone through a true recession in our voiceover business, which means that it's kind of tough to figure out what are the signs and what are the indicators of whether or not we are in a recession or how that recession might affect our voiceover business. But there's one thing that I've been paying very close attention to, and I'm going to be watching in particular in the next month or two. Going back through the last 10 years, I always experience a slowdown in my voiceover business in the summer. It's inevitable. It's one of those things. And I think that anybody that's been doing voiceover for any length of time would tell you that the summer slowdown tends to be real. And that's just because people are going on vacation, right? Everybody's going on vacation, particularly in July. That's a very common vacation month across multiple major sectors, the United States, Canada, the United Kingdom, right? In August, it's a little bit less so because in different places, school starts a little bit earlier, right? Some schools starting kind of mid-August. And so most people are kind of getting back into their routines or whatever. But July, it's very common for there to be a slowdown in July. And again, any voice actor that's been doing this for a while would probably agree to that statement. I can go back through and look at my financials and I can say this happens. So can I say right now that the slowdown that I've experienced in my business in July, is that a result of the recession or recession fears, or is that a result of people going on vacation? I'm not entirely sure. But here's an interesting thing that I have been paying very close attention to. I have 3 agents currently. I have one East Coast agent, one West Coast agent, and one Canadian agent. In July, I don't think that I saw one single audition from my West Coast agent, which is very unusual because my West Coast agent, generally speaking, I would see at least 10 to 12 auditions over the course of the month, some months more, some months less. But I would say on average, 10 to 12 auditions from that agent. I didn't see anything, and that's primarily a commercial agent. My Canadian agent, very same, right? 10 to 12 auditions on average at a minimum, and primarily in the commercial space. And in July, I think I saw 2 auditions from that agent. So is that a sign of people going on vacation? Or is that a sign of potential recession fears? Because if we know that one thing that happens in a recession is advertising budgets that get cut, then it stands to reason that we would probably see some sort of a decline in, at the very least, the commercial genre for voiceover. And so to see that few of auditions coming in is a little bit of a red flag for me. Now, can I say that it's been like that in past summers? I'm not really sure because I've never paid attention to it the same way, but I have definitely noticed it this year. So, is that an indicator of what may be to come? I don't know for sure, but it's definitely something that I'm paying attention to. So then the question becomes, if we are going into recession and it is going to impact voiceover, are there areas of voice actor that may be more proportionately or disproportionately impacted? That's another fantastic question that I am doing a lot of research on and trying to figure things out. I can tell you this much. I have not seen any evidence yet of any kind of slowdowns from my e-learning work. I've seen minimal slowdown on my corporate, although again, summer. I've seen some slowdown on my explainer work, but again, summer. But definitely seen an obvious slowdown in my commercial. Are there recession-proof genres? I don't know if there's recession-proof genres, but I think that there may be sectors that would be worth paying closer attention to. And so those are some of the things that I'm trying to figure out. And I will be honest with you, Laura, at this point, I don't have all the answers yet because, again, this is not something that I've lived through in my business in the past. And so I'm learning right along with you guys. I will say that one genre that I have not seen any decline at this point is video games, which stinks because I don't do video games. But I have not seen any slowdown whatsoever in the number of video game auditions that agents are sending out. I have not heard any indication of slowdowns in video game auditions. Video games, to me, that feels like one of those genres, like when the zombie apocalypse hits, people will still find a way to buy their video games and sit at home and play their video games because that's one of their great sources of stress relief. So maybe video games becomes one of the recession-proof sectors of voiceover. I do still think that e-learning, at least certain areas of e-learning are going to be relatively safe because there's certain things that are mandatory, right? There's certain types of training that are mandatory. And so you can't just make those go away, right? They're one of the ones that you got to find room in the budget. And maybe one of the ways that they find room in the budget is by allocating from marketing, for example. So anyway, it's a fantastic question. It's a really important topic. It's something that I think all voice actors should be paying attention to right now because it might affect us. We just don't know quite yet how it might affect us. And I think the more important thing is just paying attention to, are there areas where it feels safer? If you're seeing, I think one of the great ways to measure this right now, by the way, if you're looking for evidence, pay attention to casting sites. First and foremost, are there more or less auditions on casting sites? Secondly, what are you seeing being posted on the casting sites right now? What jobs, what genres are you seeing consistently being posted on the casting sites right now? I think that may also come into play when trying to determine where's a good, safe place. Where should I be watching right now? What should I be paying attention to? Great question, Laura, and one that I will continue to keep an eye on and one that I will continue to share any insights on as I may figure them out over the next month or so while I pay attention to what is happening and where the economy is going and what things look like once we get on the backside of summer and business should, return to normal. All right, let's see what James says. James says, following on from one of your previous videos regarding pricing, I'm new to VO and come from a sales and marketing background and simply can't understand why the industry pricing works the way it does. If I sell a product or service, I simply judge the market rate and charge it. How and where the customers use my services of no consequence. If I start out charging a small flat rate and become successful, my pricing will increase to reflect the demand for my service. Why on earth should I make it any different to me? Why on earth should it make it any different to me as to how or where the customer uses my product once I've charged for my time and my voice? Okay, James, great question. This is a little bit of it's not one simple, easy answer, but I'll try to make it as easy as I possibly can. So, uh, Bob, the local vacuum cleaner salesman, comes to you and says, "I would really like you to do a commercial for my local vacuum cleaner shop. And the commercial that we are going to do is going to air on the local radio station in the local market." And so you say, "Fantastic, Bob. I'm really excited to do your commercial for your vacuum cleaner shop. And, I understand that it's going to air on local radio. And so the rate for this commercial to air on local radio is X. And the reason why rate is X is because it's reaching a certain sized market. Your voice is going to be heard by a certain number of people. There's a certain impact in the market that your voice is going to have." But now all of a sudden, Sir James Dyson comes to you and says, "James, it's Sir James Dyson. I think that's what his name is. I would really like you to do a commercial for Dyson vacuums. And this commercial for Dyson vacuums is going to air all across the entire United States of America. And it is going to be potentially heard by 330 million people in the United States of America. It stands to reason that because you are adding greater value to the Dyson national brand, because you are going to be heard by 330 million people as opposed to, 10,000 people in your town, it stands to reason that the usage for that voiceover is going to be higher because the reach of that voiceover is going to be significantly further. And so that's one of the factors why usage comes into play in voiceover and why rates vary from project to project and from usage to usage. The other thing to take into consideration, let's say that you do the local radio commercial for Bob for $50, right? So Bob, the local vacuum cleaner salesman, you do that commercial for Bob for $50. And you say it's fine because it's local and I'm just paying for my time and it only took me 30 seconds to record this voiceover. So $50 feels like a fair rate. But now Bob, the local vacuum cleaner salesman, goes and opens up 7 more franchises across 6 different states. And so now, because you gave Bob, the vacuum cleaner salesman, the rights to your voiceover for $50, he can take that commercial for $50 and he can just start using it in those other 7 different states. And so now, instead of your voice being just in the local market for $50, your voice is now in 6 different states for 7 different stores, and it's still that same $50 that you charged. Here's where it gets complicated. Sir James Dyson finds out that you did these vacuum cleaner spots for Bob. And now Sir James Dyson, who was going to pay you $10,000 for broadcast rights to your voice for all of the United States of America, finds out that you are doing vacuum cleaner spots for Bob, the vacuum cleaner company, and now you are in conflict. And so now Sir James Dyson says, because you are the voice of another vacuum cleaner brand, you can no longer be the voice of Dyson. And so you have now just lost out on a $10,000 national commercial because you did a local commercial for $50. The usage is different because the reach is different. The usage is different because the value added is different. Think about it in sports. And if you're a sports guy, think about a sports analogy. Who gets paid the most in sports? Baseball, basketball, hockey, whatever. Who gets paid the most? The players that offer the most value. Now, every single player on the team is playing the exact game. They're playing the exact same game. They're playing for the exact same team. They're playing the exact same schedule, but not every player adds the same level of value to the team. And that's why one player gets $100,000 for a season and another player gets $40 million for a season because it's measured based on the value that you add. In a voiceover standpoint, the value that you add to an internal company video that's going to air for a company with 500 employees, that is not the same kind of value as the value that you would add on a national commercial that could potentially be seen by 300 million people. And so that's why usage absolutely matters. It's about being fairly compensated for the value that you add. And I think that's one of the areas where voice actors make the mistake, but voice buyers also make the mistake. It's not just 30 seconds. It's not just 30 seconds of your time. Bob, the local vacuum cleaner guy, might be paying $100 per spot to get that commercial on the local radio. Sir James Dyson might be paying $1 million to get that commercial in the Super Bowl. Should that be the same $50 voiceover for the local radio to the Super Bowl commercial? No, absolutely it shouldn't. And so that's where usage matters. Now, do voice actors sometimes tend to make it more complicated than it needs to be? Yes, I do think sometimes they make it more complicated than they need to be. But we do need to understand that there is a difference between a AAA video game and a video game by a small-time developer that's going into the Apple App Store. We do need to understand that there's a difference between a 6-week commercial airing on a local radio station and a 1-year usage on a national commercial across all of the United States of America. We need to understand that there's a difference between a corporate video that a company is going to share on their Facebook page with 500 subscribers and a corporate video that's going on their YouTube channel with 10 million subscribers. All of those sorts of things do become factors, and that's why you see rate ranges as well. If you look at the GVAA rate guide, you'll see rate ranges for some of these things. So James, I hope that explains it in a way that makes it a little bit easier to understand, because you're right. It does sometimes feel very complicated. When you're a new voice actor, it feels very complicated. When you come from a sales background, where here's the other thing, right? There's sales for widgets and there's sales for services. We're not selling a product, right? We're not selling Yetis, right? The price of the Yeti is the price of the Yeti, regardless of where the Yeti goes and regardless of where the Yeti gets purchased, because it's still just a Yeti no matter what. We're not selling a product, we're selling a service. And the price of our service does vary. Plumbers don't have a fixed rate, right? You can't just have a plumber come to your house and say it's $100 and I'll install as many toilets as you want. It's this much money for one toilet, this much money for 2 toilets, this much money for 5 toilets. That's a service. It's a service-based industry, and there's service-based compensation. And so the same idea works in voiceover, right? It's, are 1,000 people going to hear it? Are 1 million people going to hear it? Are 100 million people going to hear it? And so it's not priced strictly on, it's just 30 seconds of talking. The number of people that are going to be impacted by that 30 seconds of talking comes into play as well. James, I hope that answers. And I understand if you don't agree with it, that's fine. But know that if you don't agree with it and you don't follow it, you could potentially be costing yourself many, 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 many thousands of dollars in earned income. And you could potentially be taking yourself out of the running for a lot of different kinds of work down the road, because you create conflicts when you put your voice out there for different things and you do it for a lower rate. And now it prevents you from being able to do other jobs for companies in similar spaces where the rates may be significantly higher. And so, I mean, for me, I'm a business owner. And I'm a capitalist, right? At the end of the day, I'm a business owner, I'm a capitalist, and I want to take care of my family. So I want to make sure that I am getting absolutely fair compensation every single time I walk into the studio. And sometimes fair compensation is $250, and sometimes fair compensation is $5,000. And I want to make sure that I'm not leaving money on the table because I just set $250 across the board, and then somebody would have paid me $5,000, but I'm like, no, because I don't agree with usage, so it's just $250. And now I just lost out on over $4,000 worth of potential income for my business and for my family. I don't want to do that. So I do pay attention to usage. It's the way the industry works. It doesn't work the same as traditional product sales because it's a service-based industry. Hopefully that answers it for you anyway. Hopefully that makes it make a little bit more sense. Copyrights definitely come into play as well. Ron Allen saying intellectual property, just like singers, musicians, bands, we own all the audio that originates from our studios, which is true. Copyright does absolutely come into play with this as well, which is one of the reasons why in the past I've had clients that have agreed to one usage and then they've taken my voice and used it in other places without compensating me for that. And legally, I have been able to pursue them for additional compensation because they violated the copyright agreement, right? They violated the usage agreement, which was basically violating the copyright agreement, right? It's like you can't take Beyonce's new album and just start splashing it all over your website and starting your own internet radio station for Beyonce's new album and trying to use that as a way to draw traffic to your website. Beyonce is going to come after you because you're not paying her, because you're not paying for the proper usage and you're not paying for the right to use her voice in that way. Same idea in voiceover. So hopefully that makes it make at least a little bit more sense. It is a really great question. It's a really important topic to understand. Rates are probably one of the things that I struggled with the most when I first came into the industry. And like people coming in now, you're so fortunate because there are resources like the GVAA rate guide. There are resources like the Gravy for the Brain rate guide. Those things didn't exist 10 years ago. And so when I was trying to price projects 10 years ago, I was literally pulling numbers out of my butt because I had no clue what fair market value was for some of these things. And so I'm really grateful that a lot of the resources exist now that help us to be able to figure some of this stuff out and help us to be able to make sense of some of this stuff a little bit more. All right, where are we going next? I got time. What time is it? 5 to 2. I got time for maybe one more question for Free Advice Friday. If somebody's got one, by all means, you can type your question into the comments, and I am happy to provide that answer. Like I said, I got time for maybe one more. So if there's something that you would like to ask, something that you would like to know, don't be shy. This is your opportunity. Type it into the comments, and I will do my best to provide a brilliant and intelligent answer for you. And if it's not brilliant and intelligent, at least I can try to make it sound like it's brilliant and intelligent so you can feel like you got your money's worth. Again, don't forget to check out the new masterclass, Booking in Your Backyard. It's at markscottcoaching.com. That class is happening on August the 16th. I'll be live at 7 o'clock. If you can't attend live, you can still sign up and get access to the video recording. Booking in Your Backyard. Details at markscottcoaching.com. Make sure you check out the new episode of the podcast. We're talking about outsourcing. That one is available at VOpreneur.com. Answering the question, what do I outsource? And giving you several different ways to approach that question when you're trying to figure out what is the best way for me to outsource. What are the best things on my task list for me to outsource? So check that out at VOpreneur.com, or again, wherever fine podcasts are given away for free. Anybody got a final question for Free Advice Friday? Don't be shy. Let me take a look here. I want to make sure I haven't missed anything. Some really great topics today, guys. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate when you come and you ask your questions. I think the recession one is so important. It's something that we need to be talking about, and it's something as voice actors that we need to be paying attention to. And rates is just one of those things that, it gets confusing. And sometimes until you fully understand the whys behind some of it, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't seem reasonable. And I mean, the idea, I think part of it too is just it's a psychological money block for us, right? We're employees. We're trained from a very young age to be employees. And we go to work and we get our $15 an hour or our $25 an hour or our $35 an hour. And our employer hands us a paycheck at the end of the week for $1,000, and we take that paycheck and we deposit it for 40 hours of work. And now all of a sudden, your agent sends you auditions, and they're for 30-second commercials that are going to air for 6 weeks in the United States, and they're offering you $7,500 US or $10,000 US, and we can't wrap our brains around how do I make more money for a 30-second voiceover than I make in 3 months of working at my day job. But it all comes back to the value that we add, right? It all comes back to the value that we add. When you're working for your boss and you're providing a limited amount of value inside of a small company versus when you're doing a national commercial for Dyson airing in front of potentially 300 million buyers of Dyson vacuum cleaners. And so that's where the difference that's where the difference is made up, right? And so it is hard to wrap your brain around some of the rates that you can get. I mean, I know that on my e-learning, I'm averaging $2,500 US per finished hour of e-learning, which is insanity when you think about it in terms of working at a fast food joint or retail sales or whatever. But it directly comes back to the amount of value that I add to the project and the number of people that are watching that course and the number of dollars that that company is ultimately going to earn as a result of the people learning what they need to learn in that course so that they can do their job better, so that they can increase their sales or whatever. And all of these things come into play. And that 2,500 US per finished hour, that's some people consider that on the low end of e-learning because there are voice actors that are charging even more than that. And so part of it is a psychological money block that we have to break through in order to accept that we can add that much value and it is actually worth it and it is fair compensation. And yeah, 25 cents a word, Mike. And there is a difference between a local commercial and a Super Bowl commercial. And that's why a local commercial costs $100 to buy and a Super Bowl commercial costs $1 million to buy, because you can't just do a flat rate across the board. It's not like, can you imagine somebody paying $100 for a Super Bowl commercial? Like, no. Why is a Super Bowl commercial worth $1 million? Because millions of people are watching it. And so there's that much more value in that ad and in that audience. And so voiceover works very much the same. All right, guys, I got to run because I've got stuff to do, but thank you as always for joining for Free Advice Friday. Let me quickly take a look at my calendar here just before I jump out. I do have Free Advice Friday on my calendar for next week, and it looks like I am going to probably be able to do that. So I will confirm that early in the week, and if all goes well, I will see you next Friday. That's August the 12th, 1 o'clock Eastern for Free Advice Friday. So thank you again, as always, for joining. It's been fun. Hope you've enjoyed it. Hope you've learned some things. Hope you find it helpful. Whatever you're doing this weekend, have fun, stay safe, and as always, go find some leads.